All right. Good evening. Rawan Abusia Numere Yasan Edanyamia CBM Ewo Akonya Odia Mayan to once again come and share about our finances, family finances to the one family the dikan no yɛbɛma yɛ nyinaa yɛ ho akɔ aba na yada ɔbɔ adeɛ no ase na yada era one all the listeners ne nyinaa nso yada mo ase for the time a da bi yada no munya na mo ne yɛn yɛ saa dwumadie wei no I think sɛ yɛhyɛ aseɛ no I mean like from January to now no we have covered so many topics near there and we hope and pray that nneɛma a yɛahyɛ wɔ ha no one way or the other no I make it like a difference or when your information be something which may apply to your life ti yada nyame ase for that time nti enwumere no what we want to do no yɛbɛdi kan ama Dr. Ewanso Akwaba for I know, sir, it's been the time of the season. You're very busy for Obia, no, but each time be I bring you the opportunity, no, near share information with you. And dog, mao now I'm a tier for no so Akwaba as we begin today's program.
Sure, was a form mature biao, and hope so be dear.
Yeah. Yɛda nyame ase biam nti afei na wotie nso a yɛma wo akɔ aba to ɛnɛ dwumadie no in fact ɛnɛ the main topic a yɛpɛ sɛ yɛka ho asɛm no ɛyɛ rent. Do I rent or do I buy? Do I rent or do I buy? Ebi wɔ hɔ a wowɔ question bi a wopɛ sɛ wobisa wobɛtumi afrɛ ɛwɔ 240-280-2633. The number again, no, 240-280-2633. And answer be your honswa. You want to send your information, the question or answer contribution through WhatsApp. Over to me as sending 510-931-0946. The number again is 510-931-0946. Yada mo ase yama akwa aba nso baby bia wutie yan free bia no. In fact, for the last 2 weeks you started a treaty debt management. Ebi ohwa na medeka. How do I manage some of these akana medeno? Some of the expenses how do I manage some of these things? And we spend some time discussing and giving recommendations on some of the things that we can do to help with our debt management. Doug, if you can give us like a recap of some of the things now you're seeing about debt management, and if you can give us some recap, and then after that, we can delve into today's program.
Yeah, I was at phone once again mature so last week, the last time about 2 weeks ago, the topic was, about debt and how to manage debt. And I think something if you don't learn how to do that, it can become a very big problem in your life because all of us know there are things we're trying to accomplish, there are things we're trying to achieve, and sometimes we are not in the best financial position to be able to achieve those things. So we try to speed things up, go and try to borrow the money to go do the things that we think is going to make us happy, right? And oftentimes, it's not the right way to go about borrowing money, right? Your key is to borrow money, to use that money to be able to do things that will make your life or improve your life, right? Whether it's going to school for education or whether it's buying things that's actually going to bring value to your life, right? We talk about good debt and bad debt, right? Mm-hmm. Good debt is debt that actually makes your life better. Good debt is debt that actually improves your life, and good debt is something that actually brings you great value that allows you to be able to pay off your other responsibilities, right? Bad debt is something that you borrow money to go do that it takes money from your pocket that does not put money in your pocket, right? And some examples of good debt are, owning rental property, investing, whether it's an investing in the markets or investing in your own education, which is going to help you to be able to make more money some later because you are now more marketable. Bad debt is taking a lot of money to go buy a car just to be able to look good or feel good, but yet you really can't afford that car or that payment. Now it becomes a burden or responsibility to your financial future. So some good debt, once again, like I said, buying a home, right, that you can afford, buying a home that you can buy a home and rent part of your home that now brings you rent, right, which you cannot use that rent to be able to pay down your home faster, or use that money to be able to pay off some of your other debts. You might have a large credit card debt that you used to be able to go pay for something, right? So there's so many different things that we need to be aware of when it comes to managing our debt. But one of the critical things is to always have a budget, right? Because when you have a budget, it helps you to be able to manage and control your spending. And when you control your spending, you're able to properly manage where your money goes, right? Without a budget, your money dictates where it wants to go. But when you have a budget, you dictate where you want your money to go, right? So it's very, very important that you have the skill to be able to control or have the discipline to control your spending, which will in turn help you to be able to manage your debt. Because if you're in debt and you don't properly learn how to get out of debt, right, but you continue to spend, you're going to go into more debt, right? The key is to have a structure and a plan and learn how to get out of debt. And if you're going to have debt, make sure the debt is actually a good debt because it brings you more value to your life and to your financial stability. So,
yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much,
Sure.
Doug, for breaking this whole thing down for us. I think, sir, I'm glad you mentioned the two types, like the good one and the bad ones. Sir,
Yes.
a lot of us, once you come here, that the misconception, you can say, don't borrow. But we are not discouraging borrowing. But the thing is, if you borrow, what are you doing with that borrowing now?
That's
Loan
right.
now, then loan yeah. Is
That's
this
right.
something that would they go school? Is this something that, like Doc said, is this something that will help to improve and enhance your finance and your life? And now, sir, is this something that you want to do just for luxury? I want to
That's
feel
right.
good. You can feel good today, but tomorrow, then what happens? So
Right.
it's something that anytime you're thinking about borrowing whatever amount it is, and think about it. Now, who said what are the implication at the Bebreme?
That's
Would
right.
this, help to improve my life,
Right.
as I go forward? And these are some of the things, and I think so. One of the things, so I said, now, okay, I have all this debt, and what do I do? Now, my recommendations about them, sir, Dr. One mentioned, sir, one of the things that we can do to help us is debt consolidation.
Sure.
I have all these, but so every month I'm doing 50 here, 10 here, 20 here, 30 here, near there. Sometimes, we lose track of Nina.
Sure.
So trying to keep up and making all these payments, and sometimes it's a little bit challenging.
Yep.
But if you're able to put this whole thing together as one, then you have like one payment, one single payment you're doing every month.
Yes.
It helps you. Now, the final is if God helps you, now if you're able to pay off all these debts, our recommendation is don't go back again.
Sure.
And start all over again, the same habits, maxing out again. Once it's paid off, be disciplined and hold yourself accountable. Say, you know what? I'm not doing this again. I'm not going back and repeating my old habit again. If possible, Uber to me, say credit cards and say 3, 4, 5 now. Wow. If possible, we are not saying close them, but you can cut it up or you can hide them somewhere. You don't even have ease of access to it. You can go back and repeat that again. Yeah, until yet here for Sefina, we'll join Yamawa Batu and your financial program. If you have any question, not necessarily the topic we're discussing today, but any general questions via a you can call us on 240-280-2633, 240-280-2633, and now say you can WhatsApp your questions, comments, contributions to 510-931-0946, 510-931-0946. Into you say a transition into a different topic. Now, say, Nyamia Boame, I've been able to manage my debt. Then what do I do? You know, if you're a student, if you're a single person, if you're a family, if you're a widower, or whatever it is, yet you need a place to lay your head. Regardless of whatever your status, you need a place to lay your head. And to the question no comes and they say, okay, now as a student, I need a place. As a married man, I need a place for my family. As a single person, you need a place to live. So the question we are asking today is, when it comes into that decision, because remember, say, years ago, maybe you are living with your parents, and now it's time for you to be independent. You want to be on your own. You want to be able to start life all over again. But to start, the question is, do I buy this house or do I rent this house? What are the advantages of buying? What are some of the disadvantages of renting? And what are the advantages of renting and some of the disadvantages? Indeed, we want to address some of these ideas. Na yehu say, at the end of the day, it is up to your situation. Also, it is not yes or wrong answer, say, do I'm buying or I'm renting. But it all depends on the individual situation.
Yeah.
You have to look at and evaluate yourself, say, now, is it worth it for me to buy? Or is it worth it for me to rent? So, the next few minutes in our program, now discuss this topic, Until maybe it's here for you how what personal experience you want to share with us when it came to that time for you to make that decision. You have some personal experience. You can WhatsApp your question into 510-931-0946 or call us 240-280-2633. Doug, the question and they say we're taking for example, how do I decide or make that decision either to rent or to buy?
Yeah, sure. I think, sir, that's a very important question that I think all of us have had to grapple with at some point earlier or later in our lives. And I think the key, there's no wrong answer to that question.
Yes.
Right? It's really about your preference and your choice, and also certain limitations that you may be experiencing, right? For example, if you're a student just starting out, in life, right? You may not necessarily have the money or the financial stability to be able to go buy a house, right? But maybe perhaps you could rent an apartment, or you can rent a room in somebody's house, and that may be more affordable for your income level or for your financial situation at the moment, right? And then as you matriculate or go or advance in life and start getting jobs and getting high pay, you may be able to purchase your own house, right? But also, just because you might be making enough money to be able to buy your own house, not everybody wants to own a house, right? Because sometimes having a house, although it's a blessing, it could be also a burden, right? Because if you're a person that is, let's say, single, no responsibility, you like to move around and travel a lot, own a home might not be the most advantageous way to be able to, live your life, right? Perhaps renting, so that way you can move whenever you want to move and not have to deal with anything, right? Sometimes you own a home. Let's say you might be in a hurry to move. You may not be so quick to sell your home, right? But if you're in an apartment, right, and hey, I'm in this apartment for 1 year, you can plan your life better. Hey, look, within this 1 year, by this time, this year, I want to be able to move to a different country or to move to a different state. So it's easier to be able to move when you live in an apartment where you're renting as compared to own a home, right? Also, when you own a home compared to an apartment, right? Although somebody might look down on somebody that is renting compared to somebody that's owning a home, a homeowner, you are responsible so much more compared to a renter, right? A renter, you pay your monthly rent. You don't have to worry about cutting grass, right? If something breaking your apartment, you don't have to worry about having to pay to fix it. The landlord come and they fix it, right? So you have more flexibility and more freedom as far as what you're responsible for. Hey, I pay my rent, I pay my utilities, and I'm done. On a month-to-month basis what you're going to pay for the most part, right? On the flip side of it, right, as a renter, you are at a disadvantage when it comes to paying how much rent you pay, because on a year-to-year, the rent charge can go up, right? But on a mortgage, you have a fixed payment. So you could plan and budget better. So there are a lot of advantages and disadvantages, pros and cons. Like I said, there's no really right or wrong answer, right? You have people that make a lot of money, but they choose to rent because it fit their lifestyle much better.
Yeah.
Right. They don't want to deal with the hassle of, having to own a home, deal with this, pay for that. They prefer to just rent, and then they're satisfied with that. Right. So renting or owning does not mean whether you have money or you don't have money. It's just a matter of preference. Right. Also, where you want to live. Right. Let's say you want to live in the richest part of your state or your county. You may not be able to afford a home in that particular community or particular county, but you could rent a room, right, in that county and still have the same experiences in that county, right? So it's really a matter of your own preference and what you want to achieve, right? For a lot of people, owning a home is a lifetime dream, right? But you may not be in a financial position to be able to own a home right away, right? Maybe you start to rent, save money, and then eventually save enough to be able to go buy a home. Because if you want to own a home, for the most part, you have to have a certain amount of money for down payment for the home, right? And you may not have that money right now. Maybe right now you have enough to be able to go ahead and start renting, right? And sometimes, renting a home might be cheaper than owning your own home because of those other expenses you don't have to worry about, right? But guess what? If you own a home, the advantage is, although it comes with a lot more expenses, by you paying down monthly on your home, that money is going towards your own equity of eventually owning your home, right? And having the equity in your home. But as a renter, that money is going to the landlord, right? So you may not have to rent for very long, maybe 2-3 years, up to your choice, right? To be able to save enough money to be able to buy your own home, right? Like I said, as a homeowner, you might have more responsibility, more things to pay for, but you also are building more equity in your home, right? Your home can appreciate in value over time, right? Thereby adding more money to your pocket. But as a renter, there's nothing that's appreciating. The home is appreciating for the landlord, not for the renter, right? So like I said, in everything in life, there's always going to be a pro and there's going to be a con. The key thing is, for particular state in your life where you are, what model fits you the best? Is it renting or is it owning? There's nothing wrong with either one. It's just your preference and what you would like to be able to do, right? Man, sometimes, credit, and a good credit to be able to go buy a home. Maybe your credit allows you to be able to rent a home, right? So there's so many different ways you can go when it comes to, renting a home or own a home. It's really about, the particular person, right? And maybe also depending on what's going on in economy in general, right? A lot of times, when the price of home goes up significantly, people can't afford to buy homes, right? So they are forced to rent. So maybe somebody really wants to own a home, but they can't afford to buy the home because properties have, especially for the past couple of years, properties went through the roof. The values, right, and the price went through the roof. So a lot of people cannot afford to buy. So they will afford to go ahead and rent for the meantime while they wait for things to be able to calm down to be able to eventually buy a home. So like I said, there's no perfect way to answer this question, and there's no perfect answer for this question. It's really about your preference, where you are in your life, your financial situation, right? Maybe you have a large family and apartment is not feasible. So you may need to rent an entire home. But maybe you can't afford to buy the home. You could rent the home, and you can have an agreement with the homeowner. Hey, would it be possible at some point, if I choose to buy your home, can I buy it? People do that all the time, right? It's called rent to own.
Yeah.
Right? There are all those options as well. So, I mean, like I said, there's so many things that go into making that decision. But like I said, there's always flexibility, and each way you decide to go is not an end or be all. You can always, change to whichever way you want to go. But guess what? Owning a home have a lot of perks, right? You can decide you want to add an extra room to your house. You can decide to add an extra, you can extend your porch. You can extend your driveway. You can reconfigure your house. You can paint your house a certain way. When you rent, you can't just go paint somebody's house how you want to paint. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there's so many different things. Each way you decide to go, you're always going to find pros and cons, whether you own or whether you buy. So there's no perfect way to be able to go about this thing. It's really about what you want to achieve at the end of the day, right? You can rent at some point, and later on, you could choose to buy, right? So,
yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Doc. Yeah, yet here for a journey. I say about about too, and your program, no, I very interesting. Inti, be our questions, be our contribution, be you better encourage you. Between sending it through WhatsApp, 510-931-0946. And I say, which me after 240-280-2633. Doc, there was a path for taking the time. No, now, in fact, one thing before you started, what kind, which resonates to me and also to all our viewers. So, question, do I rent or do I buy? No, there is not a definite answer to this question. No, I mean, so be Emma or definite answer say, oh yes, it's good to buy. Oh yes, it's good to rent. In fact, no, I wouldn't say so that but or still to an area be one way your friend say like you said, renting or buying depends on your situation, on your personal situation, and the lifestyle that you want to your friends live. Sometimes you are a young person, I feel now fresh out of college. You are not even sure, sir, this state and our person what's not. You're still looking for jobs. So wherever the door opens is where you go. So imagine I live in Maryland, fresh out of college, my first house. I'm not happy with the job and I want to look for another one. I started looking. Offer Minyaya was in Texas or California. What do I do? These are some of the things now we look at before you make the final decision and say, do I rent or do I buy? Now, like renting. Now you share the advantages of renting. Then we'll look at the disadvantages of renting as well. We'll move on to like buying. Look at the advantages, look at the disadvantages. Then then you make the decision, the informed decision for yourself. Say, okay, what do I do? But before we do that, there's one question on the platform. Maybe we can help. What are you? I'll say, I came to the US at the age of 50. Should I rent or buy a house? Advice.
Sure. So if you came to the United States at the age of 50, it really depends on your financial situation, right? Once again, and what exactly are you trying to achieve, right? If you have the financial stability, you have the credit score that's needed to be able to buy a house, right? You have the down payment, right? And you have already identified a place that you would like to stay. Maybe you have a family you like to put them in a home, right? Then I would say, sure, go for it and buy it, right? But if you are not in the best financial situation, right, you don't need to force yourself to go buy a house. Never let anybody coerce you, or never let anybody make you feel like you must buy a house right now. You have to make decisions that are based on your financial strength, right? And only you know what that decision is. If you want to buy a house and you can afford to do so, you find a house that fits what you're looking for, that fits your budget, that fits where you want to live, and you live within a certain confines of your income, right? If your income doesn't allow it, don't force it. Be patient, right? Rent for a couple of years or so while you save enough money to be able to find where you truly want to stay. But don't just rush to go buy a house any place because you want to go buy a house, because that same house, which should be a blessing, can become a burden because you rushed it and you were not financially ready to be able to make the decision. So that decision, really, I can't even advise you on that. It's really your own personal preference and what you would like to achieve. If it's your all-time dream to own a house in the US, guess what? If you have the financial backing to be able to do it, I say go for it. It's a great feeling to own a home. It's a great feeling to be a homeowner because it's just like I said, you have a lot more things that you can do to your home, right? You can add a lot more things to it, but do it responsibly. Do it because you can afford to do it. Do it because you absolutely want to do it, not because you saw your friend own a home. So now you feel by force you have to also own a home as well, right? Everything, every financial decision you make sure you make it responsibly and make sure you make it based on your capabilities, right?
Yeah.
And your ability to be able to afford those payments. And sometimes it's not just about affording, it's about can you afford a payment and still pay for your other expenses as well, right? So, like I said, there's no perfect answer for that question. It's really about where you are financially and what your hearts and desires really want to, where they really are. So that's what I want to add to that question. Hopefully, that help you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Doc. And just to add a little bit to it, no one said, and we haven't done that topic yet, but we'll get into that, which will be investment.
Sure.
On said, just owning a house in the United States, and it's not just something you do it for the fun of it. A lot of people know you own a house as part of your investment portfolio because you are hoping, sir, during like retirement, your dream is that house will be paid off. If that house is paid off, and I say even if it's not paid off, Ukraine is close to being paid off, you have enough equity. Just I build it in the house. You can add that no as part of your investment
Yeah.
portfolio.
Yeah.
Okay. Now at age 50, also give and take, I can bear 15 years to if you decide to retire at age 70, 15 to 20 years for you to retire. So the question I will be saying, why am I buying? Am
Yeah.
I buying as part of my investment portfolio to
Sure.
uh, spread out my risk, And now say I'm buying just for the fun of it. And now say because somebody is pushing me, go and buy, go and buy, go and buy. I'm buying that. Like Doc said, buying, it's a big commitment. It's a commitment where you don't just go in with a zero down. You're going in with a down payment.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have that down payment? Is the first question. And what is my reason, my purpose? My purpose is because maybe I want to help exploit like more investment opportunities. So if that's the ultimate goal, Nydia, then go for it. At Bebwao in the long run, because when it comes into retirement, you can either sell that property, you can take out the equity to help with your financial retirement during like retirement.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, 50, yes, but you still have more time to get to retirement. Like Doc said, it's not yes or no answer, but your situation and a bit determines do I buy it or do I rent it?
Yeah, and also one more thing as well too, right? You also have to determine, based on your age, At what point do you plan to retire or stop earning money from work, right? Because if you buy a home and the mortgage is a certain amount, and then let's say in 10 years or 15 years you want to retire, but yet you haven't paid down your house that much, and you still owe a certain amount of payment on the house per month, but yet in your retirement you're not making money and your social security is not as much. Can I afford the house in my retirement, or would I have to sell in order to be able to have a peaceful retirement? So there are many questions you have to ask yourself before you go ahead and decide which way you want to go.
Yeah, that's a very good point about Nadok Odiabano. And plus, also at that age, make sure, sir, your mortgage payments now is something which is reasonable.
Yeah.
Also reasonable to the point in this a bedroom stage, say if the house is not paid off, I mean, maybe based on sika kakra income kakra be free left and right, bebano, you'll be able to still make that mortgage payment. It's very helpful than wakofa mortgage kasiye. Also, a few way, retire, the house is not paid off. What source of income? Also, I want to mean Juma as you used to. Your source of income also not less. Now the mortgage becomes a burden. So you end up selling the house and possibly now you're going back to renting because you can't afford it anymore. So which you could have done it like the other way around, yesterday for that was journey there was the more questions about the more interactive in my program. If you have any question, you can bring the question to WhatsApp 510-931-0946. You can call into 240-280-2633. And I said on our Facebook or YouTube platform, you can post your question over there. We'll get it and we'll do our best to answer those questions. And Doug, now let's take rent. Let's take renting. So as an individual, I have looked at, I just moved over here to this new area. And I feel, sir, I need to study the area a little bit before I even consider buying. So to study that, I have decided to rent. Now, what are some of the questions, that if I decide to rent, I probably need to ask myself or the landlord or whoever that I'm renting from in order for me to make an informed decision? Because sometimes, one of the things that I have seen, sir, regardless if I'm renting or buying, we don't ask too many questions. Then we get into it. Then we realize, say, yes, say my rent is in fact $1,200. But me call now I've seen this, I've seen that, this added cost. Wait. I feel me I didn't me drew like $2,000. So then you ask the question, did I even make that the right decision, the renting? So what are some of the questions that we can ask upfront that will help us to ask to make that informed decision of renting?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's always a landlord or lease agreement, right? Between you and the landlord, or between you and the homeowner you want to rent from, right? And that lease agreement is going to contain the stipulations or the guidelines or the rules and regulations for the apartment owner or for the homeowner between you and them, right? So you have to thoroughly read through it and know what's in there, right? If the landlord is advertising, okay, well, it's $1,000 per month to rent my place, you have to ask that landlord, does $1,000 a month include utilities, or is it just the rent payment? Because some landlords will charge you a certain amount that includes everything: utilities, TV, internet, all that's included, right? And then some landlords will charge you for the rent, and then you pay everything extra out of pocket, right? So everybody does a little bit different, right? And also depending on where you want to stay. Okay, if I want to stay in this particular neighborhood, You know, what are the comparables, right? Is it cheaper for me to rent a room in somebody's house, or is it cheaper for me to go rent an apartment down the house, right? Also, you know, how much privacy do I have, right? In an apartment, I have my own room, my own bathroom, my own kitchen. I have that, right? But in a house, I may have to share a kitchen with somebody else, right? Although it may be cheaper, but I have to share with somebody else. So how much freedom or privacy do I want to have, right? And also, you know, you as a landlord, right? You know, what kind of experience have they had with your previous tenants, right? Or the tenant that lived in a particular apartment that you live in, has there been something that occurred that you need to be aware of, right? Are there certain things in an apartment that you have to be aware of that can cost you more money or can eventually cause the landlord more money that you need to be maybe aware of? You can make better decisions when it comes to those things, right? So it's really up to you, the person, what kind of experience you want to have, right? You know, you can ask the landlord, you know, are they okay? You know, how do they feel about noise, right? Do I have to, you know, can I have certain amount of guests in my apartment at a particular time? Or am I limited to how many guests I can have in my apartment, right? The noise level at a certain point in time, you know, when do I have to have my noise in my apartment turn out to a certain level? Because some landlords have a very low tolerance for noise, right? But you might be a very loud person, or you might like to play music loud or whatever it is. So if you go into that apartment or that house and you don't have those things already ironed out with the landlord, you and the landlord might really clash and have a very bad experience when it comes to renting, right? So these are things that you have to really be aware of, right? You know, what kind of people are living inside a building, right? Are there, you know, I mean, there's so many different things that you want to be aware of, right? You know, how is the apartment diverse, right? You know, are certain things, you know, if I come to this apartment here, I'm a particular race. You know, how is the apartment overall? The landlord, who do they normally rent to, right? What are the dynamics? Because if I come to the apartment, I'm from this race, I like this certain things, and I come to an apartment where the majority is of this particular race, I may not have the best experience, right? Because maybe our cultural differences might not give me the best experience. So you want to know these things ahead of time before you go sign a lease. Because sometimes, you know, you as a landlord, you know, can I do a month-to-month rental compared to whole year rental? And if I do a month-to-month rental, what is the price difference compared to doing a whole year rental, right? Because landlords want to have stability. So guess what? They prefer a whole year or 2 year rental as compared to month-to-month, right? So for you, before you kind of just secure, you know, for a year or 2 years, you might want to do a month to month to see how it is, to assess the place. The landlord might tell you one thing of how the apartment is, but when you have an experience in that apartment in a month or two, you might be like, hey, you know what? This may not be the best idea for me. So it's best if I go on to somewhere else, right? So these are all things that you want to know in advance to be able to have the best overall experience, right? When you rent. So, like I said, I'm sure there are a lot more things to consider. But that's what kind of comes to mind as I discuss this question.
Yeah, thank you so much, Doug. It's getting very, yeah, friends, interesting. Yeah, you say, and I like the how you start and say there's the lease agreement. Say a lot of us, you know, especially no Ghanaians or Africans, let me put it that way, you know, we don't like to read the fine print. You know, we get excited. I mean, a lot of the things we do by emotion. Say, oh, man, who say, your friend say, Dr. Wa at this area has said, so I want to go. I don't even know why into Dr. Wa
Yeah.
and now say, Madam, wait apartment into me. So come what may a while I said, but a be a while that person no a research no who say hobebua no
Yeah.
but one no based on your situation, maybe that place is not even like
Ideal.
the right place for you. So you need to ask those questions, you know, what are some of the things that so in that neighborhood, in that apartment tonight, maybe you know, and that's a bubble for you too. If you have kids, you need maybe like a playground or baby. Maybe sometimes some of us we need a pool for them. And so you need to look at all these things, you know. not just say what make is a friend
Yeah.
decision no. On say you can rent. Dr. Wame who say you rent no your number one. And TM say rent in a 1,002. One of the questions a lot of us we fail to ask and they say, is there any escalation, yearly escalation?
Yep.
The rent anymore.
Yeah.
And what we mean by that is when you read your lease agreements carefully, sometimes it will tell you, say, yes, for this year, and also for this 6 months here, we're signing lease, the rent is 1,200.
Mm-hmm.
But the next 6 months, and if you renew it, it will go up by maybe like 5%.
Yeah.
Or whatever percentage they choose to do, it will go up by that much. And some of us, either we see it and we don't pay attention to it. And to come renewal time, not landlord not catch us say, 1,002 now, no, I do 1,003. Then we go crazy. We ask, no, I don't know. Say, it is in the fine print.
It's in the fine print, yeah.
And based on your finances, you need to make sure, sir, ask the question, is there any an escalation fee at the end? If it is, when it comes for renewal, and my rent moves from 1,000 to 1,002 and also 1,001, financially, am I able already to meet that obligation? If it's something you are not ready for, then you need to rethink your decision to go and live there.
That's right.
And some of us, we don't even look at like the lease term. We don't even know, say, a year, 6 months, a year, 1 year, and I say month to month. We're not even fully like aware of some of these things. And one say, but it is really important. So my lease, is 6 months. And 6 months is this subject to renewal? Maybe we have, especially Dr. Okan said, sometimes we're making it, maybe it's not like say an apartment, but it'll be basement, me call rent. Into the next 6 months, me hear some sikabi. And that's the reason I'm doing basement rented. Until I don't have any plan of renewing that lease, at the end of the 6 months, you need to be aware.
Yeah.
Say at the end of the 6 months, Nippon basement in my current, it's not subject to renewal.
That's right.
So if it's not subject to renewal, what do I do after that?
Yeah.
So you need to ask those questions. My landlord didn't disclose all that intention to you. Then who said, do I really want to go through moving again in 6 months? Maybe no. Maybe I need like a year. Maybe I need 2 years.
Yeah.
Bargain for that and do that. Nah, your friends are bad, because moving, it's not a fun. And you're fun. But dog, my name is Bibi. I say what I can't.
Oh no. I'd say at the end of the day, as we bring this meeting to a close, like I said, it's very important that when we come on these calls that you guys ask as much questions as possible, because that's the best way for us to bring you guys value, right? We could come here and talk, but it may not bring you guys, what you need exactly. But when you ask specific questions, we can give you the best answers that we know how to, right? This topic of renting versus buying, it has caused a lot of headache for a lot of people because there's so much to consider when it comes to making that decision. But the key thing is if you're unsure, you can start with renting, right? And to learn more about a place, learn more about a community, learn more about a particular county that you would like to stay in, right? When you rent, you have a better idea of, what, I can see myself living here, right? Maybe the housing or the economic situation is not the most ideal for you to buy, right? You can rent in the meantime and wait for things to change, right? So, but instead of going to jump into something that you're not ready to prepare for, right? So there's so many different things that go into making that decision. So you want to really, really make sure that you are putting yourself in the best financial situation to be able to succeed financially without having to feel rushed or without having to feel like, I have to do this right now because my friend or somebody else did it. Always make that decision based on you fully knowing what you're getting yourself into, because if not, it could cause you a lot of problems.
Yeah. Thank you. And one of the things, and so sometimes, when we want to rent, we need to consider is a security deposit.
Sure.
On depending on the landlord, some of them will take like a month. Some of them will take 2 months. Some of them will take like 3 months. To ask those questions, not who said, if my landlord is asking for 2 months security deposit, in addition to my first month's rent, is this something that I can afford? If I ask those questions, I cannot afford your furniture 2 months in a year, then you need to move on and look for another place, and maybe they require just like 1 month and 1 month a furniture a bit to me aboame. And a dog okay from the beginning said, some of us, and we also need to look at the rent, does that include utilities? Because there are some places you pay the rent and that's it. Everything else is included in there. And some places, it's not. So you need to be able to know some of these things, na is this something in fact say ebeboame. And when it's time for me to move out, what are some of the things that causing me to lose my security deposit? Because if you are renting, sometimes they'll tell you, no, you cannot repaint the place to the way you want it. Or you cannot even like drill a hole to put your picture on the wall. That kind of thing. You need to be able to ask those questions, na who say, we know ebeboame and ase emwame. And they can from the beginning say it depends on your lifestyle and the situation. So ebi oha ma kope juma foforo, and this is the job that I'll be doing for like the next 6 months or a year. I'm renting this place, na makwa ho, do my job. Now, at the end of it, your friend is saying, I move out. We need to consider all these factors, before we make that final decision. Say, me rent it, na me rent it. So, where do I wanna rent it? Dog, yabema wama your friend is saying, like you're closing as we bring today say to a close now. Next week, we pick up from like buying to rent, some of the advantages, some of the disadvantages of doing that, And into next week, we'll move on into buying, now into depth, some of the advantages and disadvantages of buying near there. So if you have your last words, in terms of renting, any ABR you want to share with our viewers, will be appreciated.
Oh man, I think we've discussed this topic in detail, and I think we provided the most relevant information for you guys to be able to make the best choices possible. Like I said, once again, renting or buying, there's no wrong answer to that question. It's really about your own preference and what you would like to achieve. And whenever you make financial decisions, always determine what I'm getting ready to go buy. Is it going to be an asset to me, or is it going to be a liability to me, right? Whether I'm going to go rent or buy, if I rent, the amount that I'm paying for rent, would it be very similar to if I go buy with all costs considered? Is there a significant difference, right? That will really help you to be able to determine, right? And how does all that impact my month-to-month spending and expenses? So there are so many different things that go into making a decision. But the one that's easiest to get into is the renting, right? What you can do to build yourself up. They just say maybe 1 year, so you can save for the down payment and save for other things. And after 1 year, you're in a much better situation, so you can go buy. But there's no perfect answer. You have people that make a lot of money that still rent. You have people that don't make enough money that they're forced to go buy, and then they can't afford it. They lose a house, or people just do the things that that they make decisions that fit best for them because maybe they have a big family, right? And the apartment is not sufficient. You need to get a house, right? And at that point, what can we do? Do we have enough money to be able to do these things? And if not, we don't have enough money. Maybe let's stay with our parents or stay with our family until we can save enough money to be able to go buy it. But never make anybody force you or push you to be able to do something that you're not prepared to do. So that's it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Doc, for your time. And yet here for Yadamwase Bebre for and enumerate no say Adaje Mwanya Yade Amaye. Yenim say information ya share no Ebeboa Yena no. Our goal and as I intend for the next 2 weeks and it's not to tell you say go and buy and I say go and rent. No, but Yapesa Wankasa, you evaluate the information na Ubenyano. You look at Wankasa, your lifestyle, your personal situation, your family situation. Now we make it a decision. No, like Doc said, no, ma will be pressure you to buy in when you feel say you are not ready. Because being a homeowner, I'll tell you, it's not easy. Everything is on you. Also, you can't rent in. No, you just pick up the phone, call the landlord, they will fix it for you. It's not your responsibility. Also, additionally, no, it is an area so you can always you have that flexibility, no, to move in, move out anytime you want. Also, to consider all no before you make that decision. No, yenim say dwumadie wei ayenhyira ama na deɛ wate bia nso no. Our hope and desire ne say use this information and make an informed decision that will help you and your family. Until next week, yɛbɛhyia no, nyame nkan ho na ɔnhyira yɛn nyinaa.
Okay. God bless everyone. Take care. God bless.
All right. Thank you. Okay.
one and the way or no